In this video, we're going to start laying out some rows and columns. I'm still on the same page of the docs. I'm on the grid system. And let's look at some examples. We're going to spend just a minute on this page, and we're actually just going to go try some ourselves. So notice they have everything here inside a container. And then inside the container, we have a row. So this is a lot kind of like tables, right? We have a row. And here is the closing tag for that row. So inside the row, we have a div with a class of column. So that's one column. And this is the second column. And you can see that up here. Our words in this one are 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. So we have a row with a column and a column. Okay. And then this next row down here has a column. This is 1 of 3, a column that says 2 of 3. And a column that's 3 says 3 of 3. So inside our container, we have rows, and inside our rows, we have columns. So let's go over here, and let's set up a div for our container first. And I'm going to show you some Emmet abbreviations. If I do dot container, notice it says Emmet abbreviation, and I say tab, it knows that I want a div with the class of dot container because I use class of container because I use dot container. And there it is. We just set up our container. I can do the same thing with a row. If I say dot row, okay, it just set up a row. It changed it to div with class equals row. It knows what my classes are inside Bootstrap because Emmet is actually looking at the CSS sheet to determine how, and it says, oh, dot container. Dot container is one of this one of the classes that's set up in this CSS sheet. They must want a div with that as the class, and it does it for us. So there's one row, and let's do COL, and there's a column. And I'm going to write the words column 1. And then I will do .col. So there's a div with the class of column. And I'm going to call that column 2. And that's the words inside the div. And I'm going to do .column again. And I'll say column 3. Save it. Let's preview it. Here's my preview page. Refresh it. And I can see column 1, column 2, and column 3. And we can see our breakpoints happening there. At the smallest size, I still have 3 columns. As I hit the breakpoints, they change. Now these are aligned to the left, so that column goes from here to here, and this column goes from here to there, and this one goes from here to there, and then it's got those margins on each side. Okay, so the contents of those columns are still left aligned, so that's why they look a little bit shifted to the left right now. Okay, so when I set each of these to a column, we get 3 equal width columns, but I can change that. I can change this. Let's change it. So this is a 12 column based grid system, just like 960 framework, which we've done before. So I'm going to set this to column 2. Look at, and it's giving me all kinds of options there. Let's set this one to column 6, and set this one to column dash 6 and 2 is 8. That leaves me 4 left over. Column 4. Save it. Refresh. Okay. So I have, this is 2 columns. This one is set up to take 6 columns, and this is set up to take 4 columns of our page. Pretty simple. To make this a little bit easier to see, let me add a couple. I'm going to add a border and border dark to each of these. That'll turn on the border. Border turns it on. Border dark sets it to the dark mode. That makes it a little bit easier to see the columns. So there's 2 columns, 6 columns, 4 columns. And I can change those to any combination that I want to. I can make 2, 4, and 4, which does not add up to 12, and it leaves some extra space over here. I believe there is auto. Okay, so I want to turn this middle one to auto. So I have 2 columns on the left, 4 columns on the rightmost, and the center one will automatically take whatever's left of my 12 columns. That didn't work at all. Maybe that only works on the left side. Can't remember for sure. I haven't done this for a while. But that's not where the strength comes in. That's not where the strength comes in. So equal columns are easy to do. But that's not usually what we end up using. When my browser is on a tiny phone, 3 columns is pretty packed in there. We don't necessarily want 3 columns right there. On my phone, on the small size, this is extra small. You can see the jump in there, and then small, and then there's medium. Maybe extra small and small. I don't want those to be in columns because they're just not enough room. So what I do is I use a column with a breakpoint. So I want to tell this, I want a column once this gets to the medium size. So I'm going to use column-MD, column-MD, and column-MD. Okay, so this basically says I want this to be a column, but not until we get up to medium-sized screens. Okay, so by default, let's save this. Refresh it. Now you notice our columns are stacked on top of each other. So on a small screen, now we get them one right after each other. This is extra small, actually. Notice they're all the way out to the edges as well. And I'm going to start going out. There's my first breakpoint. This is, so we went from extra small to small, and they're still stacked up on top of each other. But once I get to medium, boom, there we go. My columns are now columns. Okay, so I can tell it to what I want it to look like when I get to the medium size is basically what I told it here. Once you get to medium, become a column. Now, if I want to use those sizes, I can still use them. I can say at medium size, I want this to be column 2. I want this one to be a size 6. And this one to be a size 4. So column, at medium size, a column width of 2. At medium size, a column width of 6. And at medium size, a column width of 4. I'm going to save that. Let's refresh the screen. And we can see that down at the small size, we're filling up the screen. Now, excuse me, extra small, small, medium size. Now all of a sudden at medium size, we go to 2, 6, and 4. Now if I want to, I could add another one here. Let me add column at extra large size. I want this to be 4. And remember, I only have those borders in there to make it easier to see things. So when I get up to the really big size screens, extra large and larger, okay, I want these to become 4, 4, and 4 in width. So small size, they're stacked. Extra small and small, they're stacked. Once I get to medium, they become 2, 6, and 4. Once I get to extra large, they become 4, 4, and 4. Let's test that out. So let's refresh this. I'm going to reduce my width. They're stacked at extra small. They're small size. Medium, we go to 2, 6, and 4. And once we get to, there's large, they're still at 2, 6, and 4 as far as their width of the 12. And when I get to the large size, now they're 4, 4, and 4. And they will stay that way up through the next sizes. Let's demonstrate one other thing. Let's do container-md here instead of what I had before, which was just container. Remember, this says don't be a fluid container until you get to the medium size, then use the breakpoints. So let's go see how that changes our web page. So down at the small size, at the extra small size, it fills the whole thing. When I come up to small, it's staying fluid. It doesn't start getting those margins on each side. Once it hits medium, then it goes to the columns and has the margins on each side that keep it centered within the page until it hits the breakpoint. And then we have the jumping the breakpoints from then on.